Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the maze. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with ya. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I'm always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including a live-action Pac-Man movie, whatever that means, and a new cheat code for Super Punch-Out. And then on Thursday, we're discussing the Splatoon 3 Direct. But Mark, in the meantime, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Okay, so in my younger, more cynical days,
Yes.
I worked at a bookstore, and at
The most cynical move one can make.
at the end of the year, we would be putting out wall calendars, and there would be these calendars that have, it's just like 12 months, 18 months of kittens in wheelbarrows,
Right,
and like
kittens in baskets.
and I'm like, who are these for?
Yeah.
Right? Like, who would want one of these? Let me tell you, Patrick.
Everyone. The answer is everyone?
As I get older, the answer
Yeah.
is like me, 100%.
Yeah.
I realize my social media feeds have just entirely become pictures of cute animals just like frolicking.
I mean, that's the way, man. That's like nirvana. You've achieved something if that's truly the case. Yeah, I mean, I think there are two reasons that I wouldn't have liked that when I was younger and more cynical. One is I was cynical, and two, being young, a month feels like a very long time. Where you'd be like, I have to look at this one kitten for a month, but now a month goes by and I don't even notice.
I would delight in it.
I
think, and I haven't bought one, so I don't know for sure, but I think if I bought one, I wouldn't look at the pictures.
You wouldn't cheat.
I don't think I would, because I think I just want to be delighted.
How were you with advent calendars as a kid? Could you hold off? Were you opening them every day? Did you wait a week and then binge on chocolate?
I think I was a once a day sort of kid.
Okay, yeah. So you kept to the schedule. I was a wait a week, then
do it all. So
yeah.
Are you saying that if you were to get a wall calendar of adorable animals, you would not use the calendar at all, and then at the end of the calendar's life, then you would go back and look at all the pictures in quick succession?
Maybe. No. What I'm saying is that I would forget that I bought the calendar. Do you remember, Mark, and I still have this item in my possession, but I have I believe it's a 1992 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles wall calendar, and every 6 or 7 years, the days of the week line up so that it like works again. We could be in another one of those years.
I think it is coming up because I remember when you had it up, and it has been.
It's probably been 7 years.
It's been a long time. So I remember where you were living when you had it up,
and that was 7 years ago. Oh my God! I need to dig that calendar out and see if it's working right now and I'm not using it.
Oh, that'd be sad because
I'm running out of time.
You would have lost your opportunity for another 6 or 7 years.
Right, but another 6 or 7 years will pass.
That's true.
And maybe I'll still have the calendar.
Think of the number of cute animal cat calendars I can have in that time frame.
And how do we feel about like a hunky fireman thing? That's still embarrassing. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. Is company coming over?
I mean, that's a question for you. Is company coming over?
Probably not.
Here's the thing. Company need not come over when you can just send them my copy of Sonic Forces for the Nintendo Switch. If you'd like to borrow it, all you gotta do is email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com and give us a mailing address where we can send you my copy of Sonic Forces for the Switch. This is my copy of the game. You play it for as long as you want. You send it back. I have paid for postage both ways. So even if you decide that you don't want to play it at all, you're not wasting time. You're not wasting money. You're wasting my time and you're wasting my money. But what do you care? It doesn't matter.
See,
I'm just executing the will of the program.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, dear listener, are you.
Yes.
But nothing ventured, nothing gained. I say put your name on the list.
Put your name on the list. There may be a copy of Untitled Goose Game in a box that says Sonic Forces on the outside. That's just I don't know.
It's not a prank.
It's not a prank.
It's just part of the program.
I was about to say though, you make a plan and God laughs, so it's like a prank from God.
Another thing you can do is you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere that you get your podcasts. We appreciate it so much. It really helps people find the show. It helps like boost our standings in the algorithm, so people can the algorithm like it's one monolithic thing, so people can more easily.
No one knows what they're talking about when they say that anyway.
So
we're okay.
Can more easily find the show. Also, we would love to give you a shout out. We really appreciate when listeners leave us reviews or when they reach out and in other ways. So if you leave us a 5-star review on the US Apple Podcast Store, we want to give you a shout out. If you leave us a review anywhere else, we can't see it, but we appreciate it no less. And so if you send us, we would like you to send us an email or hit us up on Twitter letting us know that you left us a 5-star review or whatever it is you can do on the podcatcher of your choice, whether you can like favorite it, star it, leave it a 4-star review, whatever,
let's not go nuts.
No, whatever
I see.
Whatever if 4 stars is the highest in whatever podcatcher you use.
Well, and truly, rate the show how you feel the show deserves to be rated. We're not only saying review it if you think it deserves 5 stars, but if you think it deserves 5 stars, rate it.
I mean, I'm actually not sure I'm with you on that. But thank you to Slim Larry for leaving us a 5-star review in this last week. And, we've been on a string this past couple of months of just really kind, thoughtful reviews, and we really appreciate it so much. So thank you to everyone who has ever left us a review or recommended us to a friend or anything like that.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Also, we're on a good string of a couple months here hanging out in our new Discord, where we are, like I said, hanging out, talking about Nintendo with a bunch of very cool, chill, funny people who have great insights about Nintendo, who are writing cool things about Nintendo, who are collating news items for us and all this sort of stuff. So get in there, join the Discord. You can hit us up on Twitter or send us an email if you would like an invite. We will let you in, and you can start having a good fun time talking about Nintendo.
And finally, we are going to be ranking the original 48 tracks from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at the end of August. But we don't want to do it alone. We want your help. So if you can send us your favorite tracks, your least favorite tracks, your thoughts on specific tracks, favorite music from tracks, favorite little background detail you notice. We want to take all of this and use it in our final definitive rankings.
Yes. And while your individual rankings are helpful, if you have observations about your favorite or least favorite tracks, or just like shed some light on a handful of tracks, we're going to go through them one by one. We are going to know the tracks inside and out to the best of our ability. But if there's like a funny looking Shy Guy doing something weird, you better tell us about it.
Yeah, we want to know about that.
We want to know about that.
And so let us know by August 19th, which is at this point coming up very quickly.
Very quickly.
So get those in, let us know, and we'll be talking about that at the end of the month.
Right. Email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. All right, Mark, let's get into what we have been playing this week. So I'd say primarily, mostly we have been playing Live Alive. I finished Live Alive, got to the end, got past what I thought was one end to another end, and played all the way through to making the credits roll for like the 10th time.
And I have played to that first end.
Yes.
And then am in that second end right now. We're being really cagey because, the game kind of opens up and reveals itself a little bit once you finish the initial 7 chapters that are available to you.
And I feel like it does so in a beautiful way that I want people who are interested in this game to experience. I just, kind of briefly, I will give this one of my strongest possible recommendations. I really, really like this game. And it is the kind of lost RPG experience that makes me go, I should go back and find all the Super NES era RPGs that I didn't play and just play them. Cause there's gonna be another nugget of gold in here that even if it doesn't live up to the highs of Live Alive for me, it'll there's fun out there to be had.
Yeah, and there are so many like
Yeah.
RPGs of that era that I have never experienced or played.
We're going to be talking about one of them in just a little bit.
Yeah, I will go. I am going to finish Live Alive. But I really liked it too. I think that there are times where I did not enjoy myself playing it, but because each like section is discrete and you can finish it within a couple of hours for the most part.
Yeah.
It's easy to like overlook the elements that I thought were like weaker in a specific chapter and just kind of in like as an overall experience, I really, really enjoyed it and is something that is very unique. I think on last week's show, when I had only finished a couple of chapters, I said that even if you don't like RPGs, like I think the game is still worth experiencing. And while I think that is true, in other chapters that I hadn't experienced yet, the RPG elements are a lot stronger. And like as the game kind of comes to a conclusion, those RPG elements, specifically like the need for combat and for like thinking about combat and strategizing and stuff, they do play much more heavily into the experience
in a way that they don't really earlier in the game.
Yeah, and if you did some of these chapters earlier, then maybe you would hit those elements like immediately. There's a few chapters in the beginning of the game that if you started with it, you'd be like, "Oh, this is a full-on RPG."
Right, but then you would get slowed down by something like modern day or the distant future and be like, okay, so no, maybe it's just like a weird like grab bag of things. And I think what's beautiful about Live Alive is that it is both, and it somehow marries it all together in a way that just feels very satisfying and moving to me. I didn't cry at the end of this game, but it did elicit like a verbal reaction, an involuntary verbal reaction from me. One specific moment that happened, which I talk about on Mark and I went on the Geekverse Side Quest podcast, hosted by Dylan Muss, who had us on to talk about Live Alive. So we go in super deep, talk about each of the chapters one at a time until we've talked about all of them, including the end game and the end of the game. So if you would like to hear our extended thoughts on that, check out the Geekverse Side Quest podcast.
Yeah, I think that episode is dropping today. Thank you to Dylan for having us on, because it was a lot of fun to go into like very deep detail on our thoughts on this game.
And does that mean that we're done talking about it on this show? Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe not. I still have to finish it.
Right.
Like finish it. So I'm sure we'll probably talk about it at least one more time.
At least one more time.
In the future.
That's the NCS promise.
Also last week, the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass Wave 2 tracks were released.
Wave 2!
And I have to say, Patrick, for me, I enjoyed Wave 2 more than I liked Wave 1. I thought Wave 1 was fine, but other than Ninja Hideaway, it didn't really leave much of an impact on me. But there were multiple tracks in Wave 2 that I thought were like awesome.
Yeah, I mean, from the way the Mario Kart Tour tracks were present outside of Ninja Hideaway, the two city ones, which I thought were like fun and cute, the Paris and Tokyo. I didn't think they were like great tracks. I think it's neat that they're like transformative with every lap and whatever, but just overall not the best experiences. With New York Minute and Sydney Sprint, I'm totally turned around on the subject now, where I'm like, oh, the tour tracks are actually great. I think both of these cups are outstanding. Like, I think they're just both really, really good.
Yeah, and I was really happy to see that, because Calamari Desert is a track that looms large in my mind from my childhood, and I was really happy to see that it was, like, polished up. It wasn't just a faithful recreation of Calamari Desert, but in HD. They change it so you now drive on the train tracks, and it's a little different from lap to lap. And
yeah,
I thought that I liked that a lot, and I am hopeful that we see more of that in future waves, because I felt like in Wave 1, when they presented, what was it, like Choco Mountain?
Yeah.
It was just like, oh yeah, this is Choco Mountain, and it is not as fun as I remember it being.
Any different,
yeah.
Really. Yeah, it's like exactly the same. There are also some like other old favorites in here that like warmed my heart to see them again. Mushroom Gorge from the Wii version and Waluigi Pinball, man. I love Waluigi Pinball. That's one of those tracks where like the first time you played it on Mario Kart DS, it like expanded the definition of what a Mario Kart track could be, because it starts with that like launcher where like you are launched up to the top of the pinball machine, and then like there are giant metal balls rolling around and flippers, and you're up on these ramps and stuff. It's just so cool, and I'm so glad it's back.
It was also fun to have Waluigi Pinball back because I haven't played Mario Kart DS since the DS era.
Yeah, totally.
And so to have some of those throwback tracks back.
You think we're gonna get that Luigi's Mansion one from Mario Kart DS where the trees like are walking back and forth? Do you remember this one?
Oh, now that you're saying it, I do. I did not. I totally forgot about that one. There's another one. Is it like Peach's like Castle's Garden or something like that, where you're outside the grounds of Peach Castle? Like, that's
and there are like
one.
little like flower beds.
Flower beds. That's another one
Yeah.
that like I would love to see come back in the future.
Man, I love this. I love remembering Mario Kart
Yeah,
tracks.
I mean, there's even like I think maybe the episode that will eventually end NCS is we rank every Mario Kart track from in all the games.
There will be some day where we rank all of the levels in every Mario game all against each other.
But even seeing some of these GBA levels that I played the GBA game and don't really remember liking it that much. So it is fun to see them come back and me be like, oh, I guess these can be pretty fun. I will say though, any of the Super Nintendo tracks, they all just run together in my mind.
Yeah, I will agree. But Mario Circuit 3 has a fun little shortcut at the end of it that I like. When Sarah and I started playing it, I was like, oh, this has that little thing where there's like the cutout in like the little S turn. And like I took the shortcut on my first time through the lap because I remembered it from the Super Nintendo version. So it stands out a little bit for me. Just a little bit.
And then of course there's Sky High Sunday, which is the new track, which I think is great. Had lots of. It just seems like it'd be so chaotic. I haven't played it in multiplayer yet, but it just seems like it would be a lot of fun.
Sarah and I did encounter it playing online last night, and whenever you play online, it's very chaotic because you're playing with a bunch of people who are actually good at Mario Kart, which the vast majority of the computer players are not, which means that like everyone is getting good items at some point in the race or other, and everyone can take first place at any time, right? Like that's a baseline, and then to do that in Sky High Sunday, it's just madness, and it's the most beautiful kind of madness.
So we've had Ninja Hideaway, we've had Sky High Sunday. I guess Ninja Hideaway wasn't a new track. It had been in tour before, but I like that there's a potential for these like new tracks in the future, which I didn't realize was a possibility.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's amazing. And there's also, it's just like it fills the category of from Mario Kart Tour or from Mario Kart Tour eventually, while not being modeled after a city in the world. I did see that there is some like data mining going around with like people predicting from like the file names for music tracks. I wouldn't trust any of that to be finalized, and especially like what's coming out in what cup. That seems like way premature to me. But yeah, I'm hopeful that there's a lot of room for like new stuff or heavily tweaked stuff, even if it's just like the Calamari Desert thing of like an old track sort of reimagined and represented. I think that's incredibly cool.
Yeah, same.
And then Tetris 99. We've been participating in the ongoing Tetris Maximus Cup, where you can make up and get some of the old themes that you missed.
I'm ashamed to say,
Mark.
There was one theme that I did not have, and it was the Mario Golf Super Rush.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's Sunday.
Mark,
I played
you
Tetris
gotta
99.
play Tetris
I only
99.
had to get it for 10 points. I didn't do it.
Oh no.
I know. So I blew my opportunity. I felt like Nintendo did this Tetris 99 Maximus Cup just for me, just so I could get that Mario Golf Super Rush.
It's a cool theme. I earned it yesterday.
Man, like a dagger.
And now I'm rubbing it in. I have not done, we're recording this on Monday. I have not done Mondays yet, but I still have a couple hours while it's still active. I assume it's still active until midnight
Pacific time.
Pacific time? Okay.
I think that's true.
Woo! Because, yeah, whatever it is, if I haven't earned it, I want to earn it. Love Tetris 99. All right, so that's what we've been playing this last week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
So not a ton coming out this week, but the one I want to shout out, and I'm just saying this in advance, I think I am falling victim to the hype cycle because I still don't know a ton about this game, but I've just seen that Nintendo has been posting trailers on their official channel. So that's the one that is on my mind and that I'm going to shout out, and that is on Thursday, August 11th. Cult of the Lamb is released on the Switch eShop.
Mark, are you say you're falling victim to the hype? Do you think this is something you're going to check out?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
It's just I'm just aware of it because it's like it's getting compared to some of the other
well, what
games
are we going to do about this?
week.
You're too aware of this thing, Mark. How do we make you unaware of something?
It's a roguelike action adventure game that was released or not released, that was revealed at an Indie World showcase, I guess the last Indie World showcase. It centers around a possessed lamb who you have to form a cult to appease this god who saved your character's life. And it's did I say roguelike action adventure already?
Yeah, you did.
With randomly generated dungeons. I don't know. It's again, I just know that it exists. So the marketing cycle worked on me.
Well, very good. It helps the marketing cycle that we are, in fact, a willing participant in that cycle, in that we watch the 45-minute long commercial about the new Nintendo games coming out and then talk about them for 45 minutes.
That's right. I feel like when, you know how in school they're like, oh, to retain information, you like either like take that information in, then you write it down, and that helps. And like in doing this podcast, we do all of those steps. We take in the information, we write down the information, then when we discuss the information.
Right. So we actually learn we should be doing this show with something that matters.
Because should we just shout out a couple of other titles that are coming out this week? Just
randomly?
Let's
do it. Yeah, you go and then I'll go. We'll go back and forth.
Okay. Today, 2 Point Campus is released on Switch.
On Friday, Super Bullet Break comes out,
and then on Wednesday, Book Quest.
And on Thursday, the 11th, Cat Slide Tiles comes out. Truly an exciting week for new games on the Switch. All right, Mark, let's close this out. Which brings us to a regular segment on our show. It is time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or a group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, I was doing that with my eyes closed.
I was impressed, yeah.
And I panicked and opened my eyes, but didn't look down at the copy.
Just knowing it was there was all you needed.
That's true.
Okay, so for 433 this week, my husband and I, back when Disneyland was like reopening from COVID, we bought these tickets to go that we never used. We didn't end up going, but they expire in the beginning of 2023. So we're trying to figure out when we're going to go. So had a little Disneyland on the brain. So for this 433, I thought that we could rank the rides at Disney's California Adventure, which is the second theme park at Disneyland.
Yes. And so let's run down the list of them. And as we say, so are you confident that you know all of these rides?
I am confident that I know all of them. I have not been on all of them. I've not experienced all of them.
I see. I am not confident that I even know all of them.
Okay.
So as we go through them, I'm just going to acknowledge which ones I know and which ones I don't know.
Yeah, I think with the number of rides, maybe we can just like thumbs up, thumbs down them real quick.
Okay,
to
great.
Get a sense of where they'll be on the list.
Okay. Well, and if I don't know them, what is that?
We'll figure it out.
Thumbs neutral.
Thumbs neutral.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so the red car trolley. It's like a little. It's a little.
Already explaining
it's
it to
me.
me.
It's a little trolley car that starts in like that Buena Vista Street. So you know how L.A. used to have
Yeah.
red car trolleys.
Yeah.
It's basically one of those that goes around.
Well, and it's a
to
Roger
the Hollywood
Rabbit
section
reference.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm gonna say thumbs up on it.
Okay, all right, thumbs up. Mike, Monsters Inc. Mike and Sully to the rescue. A little like kids
thumbs
dark ride.
neutral, I don't know.
Okay, a little. It's like little kids dark ride.
Mhm. It's like Peter Pan, but with
Yes,
monsters. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Grizzly River Run, the raft ride.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Yep.
Don't love getting wet, but still, in general, thumbs up
You
experience.
can be on that ride and not get that wet.
but it's random.
It's totally random.
Soaring around the world.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Uh-huh.
Right, Soarin', California, I prefer.
California's better. You don't have like the leaning tower of Eiffel.
Yes.
Thanks to the curved screen that for some reason is really bad in World. Goofy Sky School.
I don't know what Goofy Sky School is.
It's like a little wild mouse coaster over in the Paradise Pier area.
Oh, okay. Thumbs neutral for me.
Okay, silly.
That sounded like applause, but it
it's
wasn't.
not. It's
It
just
was
people
applauding prematurely.
Silly Symphony Swings. It's just a swing
Just a
ride
swing-
in the Paradise Pier
I've
area.
never been on it, but I love swing rides.
Yeah, so we'll say thumbs up. Jumpin' Jellyfish, again, right across from Goofy Sky School. It's just I would say it's a kid's ride where it just like lifts you up and then.
And I
brings you
say
down.
thumbs down.
Oh, wow. Okay. Golden Zephyr, another one that's right next to it.
Have I been on any of these rides?
I don't know that it doesn't run that often because if it's like even the tiniest bit of wind, it won't run. But it's like an old fair ride that basically just like it's like a swings ride except the cars fit like 5 or 6 people.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it a thumbs down.
Oh, thumbs down it is.
The Little Mermaid, Ariel's Undersea Adventure.
I'm going to give it a thumbs up, even though it ends abruptly.
It does end abruptly. Radiator Springs Racers.
Big thumbs
Yeah,
up.
this is a
This
good
is
one.
one of the best rides at both parks.
Luigi's Rollickin' Roadsters.
What's that?
You sit in a car and it's trackless.
Like a car's car?
A car's car,
Okay.
and they like dance around. Oh, we made it
thumbs
about
neutral.
halfway through.
We didn't even make it through the list.
At Halloween time, it becomes like Luigi's like honkin' Halloween, and they have Halloween themed songs. It's pretty cute.
I mean, I love Radiator Springs at the Halloween time. That like everything is Halloweened out. It's very cute, and also just like walking. I don't really even care for the Cars movies.
No.
But that land is incredibly well conceptualized and feels separate from the rest of the park. Where like the spell is complete. It's I think as effective as Galaxy's Edge.
Totally.
We didn't get anywhere near through that. But we were accompanied today by the EBU, Your Radio Orchestra, and an audience that wanted to applaud too early. Mark, let's get into the news.
Tomorrow at 6 a.m. Pacific time, Nintendo is broadcasting a Splatoon 3 Direct. It's going to be about 30 minutes long, presumably blow out the game.
I would
before
hope
it's
so, yeah.
released early next month. We'll be talking about it Thursday.
Yeah. Mark, I don't know about you, but the September release of Splatoon 3 snuck up on me.
Yeah.
I was seeing September as like, well, that's a ways away. That's after summer. We're still like in the midst of summer. No, we're almost there.
Yeah.
It's just a couple weeks away.
We're practically there. I loved my time with Splatoon 2. I have fallen off of it for a few years now, kind of when they ended Splatfests.
Mm-hmm.
I am looking forward to Splatoon 3. I'm really looking forward to an excuse to get into another Splatoon game, but I am hoping that this Direct will illuminate what makes it different from Splatoon 2.
Totally, yeah. Do you think they need to do something like big to make it different, or do you think just like making it the new Splatoon is enough? I feel like they need to do something big. Like otherwise I don't know how you justify it.
I think that's a good point. It just feels like they need to like almost justify the existence of Splatoon 3.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that Salmon Run is back, but I hope that doesn't mean I hope that means that we are still getting another yet to be revealed game type.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and like, I think about like why they have Salmon Run as like a limited time, option thing that you can't always do it. And I wonder if some of that was to not split the player base, right? Where it's like they wouldn't have enough people to occupy the Splatfests, or not Splatfests, the Turf Wars. And just the more game modes that are in there, the more people you need to occupy those player slots, and that was a concern coming off of Splatoon on the Wii U, just because the Wii U had such a small install base, and like they don't know what the install base of the new Switch is going to be, and I mean they know the ceiling of it, and that's pretty low at the beginning. But we're almost 6 years into the Switch's life cycle. There are hundreds of millions of these things, over 100 million of these things out in the wild. So like the potential audience player base for Splatoon 3 is huge.
Yeah.
In a way that was not the case for Splatoon 2 or definitely not for Splatoon 1. So, yeah, let's get some more game modes is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I'm excited to talk about this on Thursday. I'm excited to see what they have in store for us.
Do you have any last minute predictions? What are we going to see? What are they going to show us? What? Predict something.
I'm really just hoping for like another game mode, and I guess I don't really know what they could do with single player that would make it more of like a thing, because Splatoon 2 had like a meaty single player mode, but it almost just felt like an obstacle course in a lot of ways.
Which is what the first one was too. Yeah, it would be interesting if they could somehow like contextualize it to the world of Splatoon 2, or it's Splatoon 3, I guess. Or if there was like a single player like open world kind of thing to
yeah.
I don't know. It's still always primarily going to be a multiplayer experience, right?
And do you think we're gonna get new idols?
We should. We should
know.
get new pop idols.
So I'm excited to see what that is as well.
I voiced this prediction in our Discord today, but I think a global test fire at some point, either this weekend or next week.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. They're running out of time.
They are.
And it makes sense for them to have one before that.
Yeah.
Nintendo released their most recent quarterly financial results for the quarter ending June 30th, 2022, and we got an update of the total number of Switches sold. This Nintendo Switch has now sold 111.08 million worldwide.
That's a lot. It's a lot of Switches worldwide.
So, next up, it is going to be taking down the PlayStation 4, which right now has 117.2 million, and the Game Boy and / Game Boy Color, which Nintendo combines for some reason, is right behind with 118.69 million. So possibly by the end of this fiscal year, which goes through the end of March 2023, the Nintendo Switch will be the like second best selling console of all time.
Wait, does that mean it's only the PlayStation 2?
Oh, so maybe it's the third, because the Nintendo DS is ahead of it as well.
I see. Yeah, no, the PlayStation 2 is like the far and away best selling system of all time, because it was a DVD player in a time when that was not a super common thing. And I suppose it is now again not a super common thing. Where would you buy a DVD player? Probably Best Buy.
Probably Best Buy.
How much do you think a DVD player would cost you right now?
I'm gonna guess $49.
That seems like a lot.
Really?
Doesn't it?
I guess so. You think you can get one for $20? No way, it's under 20.
You're right. There's no way it could be under 20. Maybe 30. Maybe 30 is the high end.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say $39.99 before? $49.99.
I'm going to be completely honest. I said it like 30 seconds ago, but I can't remember.
No, then there's no way to check.
In the last quarter, digital sales accounted for 53% of total software sales.
Wow.
Yeah, which is pretty crazy. And if that's happening on Nintendo, think of what it is on like an Xbox or PlayStation at this point.
It's got to be near complete. Yeah. It's also just like fascinating to consider whenever Nintendo puts out sales numbers, they are not... Or no, whenever NPD shows sales numbers for Nintendo games, they are not including digital.
Right.
So whatever you... I mean, is this to imply that all those numbers should be double?
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of instances. Although I don't know...
I guess they would be offset by games that are only available digitally.
Exactly, yeah. But still, that's kind of amazing growth.
Yeah.
Mario Strikers Battle League sold 1.91 million copies, which makes it the best launch for a Mario sports game ever.
Huh.
Nintendo Switch Sports has sold almost 5 million copies, 4.84 million. And again, this is the end of June, so these games have continued to sell since then. That is crazy to me. The Nintendo Switch Sports has quietly sold, I feel like it's quietly, almost 5 million copies.
Yeah, which is a huge number that, like... Yeah, it's just an enormous number, and it's crazy that like everyone like acknowledges that the game is like good and fun and like whatever, but it's just not an exciting product, right?
Right.
It's a good product, it's a quality product, but like it's just surprising that it would sell 5 million copies.
And yeah, it just continues to just like chug along. Kirby and the Forgotten Land has sold 4.83 million, and so making it the second,
Just less than Nintendo Switch Sports.
just less than Nintendo Switch Sports, but it is the second best-selling Kirby game ever. And as of the end of June, only 500,000 copies away from being the best-selling of all time. So inevitable that it gets there.
Yeah, and all of this is really just demonstrating the power of the Switch, both being so many of them, that there are so many of them out in the wild in people's homes, but that people buy games for it. That's the notable difference between it and the Wii.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, especially like where the Switch is at its
Totally,
life right now,
yes.
like 6 years compared to what was happening with the Wii at that point. I think that I also think it just speaks to like the quality that Nintendo has been
Yeah.
like able
Mhm.
to consistently put out. Last week, Japanese financial newspaper Nikkei reported that Nintendo doesn't plan to release any new hardware in fiscal year 2023, meaning now through the end of March 2023. They dropped this in an interview with Nintendo president Shintaro Furukawa, but it's unclear if this is something that comes from Furukawa or from Nikkei's own reporting.
Yeah, and also like there's no such thing as Nintendo saying we aren't putting out new hardware.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
that doesn't mean anything. That just means they haven't announced anything yet.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, what do you make of this, Mark? Do you think it means that either the Bomberman theory is wrong, which I don't know that I'm prepared to believe, or that Bomberman is going to come out in like April or something?
Yeah. I don't think I'm willing to believe yet that the Bomberman theory is wrong.
The Bomberman theory, of course, states that when Nintendo is actively publicizing a upcoming Bomberman game, it is only because it is releasing as a launch game for a new piece of hardware. And we saw Super Bomberman R2 in the most recent Nintendo Direct or what partner showcase.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2023 makes a ton of sense to me that's when they would release new hardware.
Like after March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so maybe in the fall or something, but I guess we'll see. I don't really know. I mean, they're on the one hand, you still have some heavy hitters for Switch, like Breath of the Wild 2,
Mhm.
that they told us it was released in spring, but no real reason to believe them. So like
Right.
I could totally see that getting delayed and being like a cross generation launch title, similar to how the original Breath of the Wild was.
Yeah, I mean it is fascinating because like I don't think they want to put out a Breath of the Wild 2 that doesn't look good, right? That doesn't play well.
Yeah.
And the original Breath of the Wild, a beautiful, wonderful game, but like chugs a little bit against the Switch hardware. And maybe they've gotten better at developing for it or whatever. But like I think it needs to be better than the first one, right? Or at least superficially.
I think the expectations are so high, but
Yeah.
but I don't know that like I cannot imagine that this sequel is going to sell as well as the first game.
Right.
Because I just don't think it'll have like the impact. That's hard to do, right? To replicate that kind of like
Yeah.
or
That
you're
moment.
reinventing,
Yeah, of course.
like Zelda Plus is launching on the new hardware, and like so many people have bought the first game. It's possible that the second game like outsells it over time, but I just find it like I don't think that can be the expectation for Breath of the Wild 2.
Right. Well, and like we know so little about the game. Even though we've like seen all two trailers where like there are all these clues to divine from it. But like what the actual like values and priorities of the game are, how much it makes you explore what you're exploring, how you're exploring it, that's all up in the air. And we are projecting a lot of what we expect because we played the original onto this game. And like, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, it's the same. You can look at it and be like, oh yeah, those are the same. From like, if you just had tiny little clips of them, you'd say yes, those are the same game and the same engine. but in reality, the priorities of the games, the values of the games are totally different. And I'm so excited to get more clarity on what the values and priorities of Breath of the Wild 2 are.
Absolutely. So I guess all of this is to say
We don't know anything.
I totally believe that there's not going to be any new hardware till in this current fiscal year. Maybe that means that since I truly believe that now, that I should go ahead and buy an OLED model because I've kind of been like holding off on it.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Sarah is traveling this week, and I'm staying home. And I was like, "Do you want to take the Switch with you?" Hoping that she would say no. And she said, "No, you know, you can keep it here." And I was like, "I should just get another Switch so I can be like, this one's yours now. You take it and play Mario Kart on it. It's fine."
Previously we had talked about like when we were traveling and bringing our Switches with us, we were like treating it like careful babies. I knew that I had turned a corner when I was traveling just a couple of weeks ago, and I just threw it in my backpack because I was like, I was already packing like so much other stuff in there that I was just like, I don't want to have the bulky case, and I'm gonna have to go to airport security and like zip it out and like all that kind of stuff. So I was just like, whatever. And I also, that was the turning point where I was like, all right, I don't care about this specific hardware that much anymore. So maybe it is time for me to get a new baby.
I have always left my Switch in my carry-on when I put it through security at the airport, and only one time did I have to like take it out and go back through. Only one time, which means there's like 19 times that it was fine without incident.
There is one machine. This is a total sidebar. There is one machine at the Burbank airport that does not require you to take anything out of your bag. And that, even if the line is long for that machine, I'm telling my husband, I'm like, that's our machine. That's our machine. Like, we're waiting in that line because I don't want to take my stuff out of my bag.
That's very funny. Yeah, I don't want to take stuff out of my bag either.
Twitter account at new_cheats_news has discovered secret codes in Super Punch-Out on the Super Nintendo that have never been known before that do really cool things. So one code allows you to select any fighter, any character to fight in a single free match.
Okay.
And then if you're in that mode, there is a second code that allows a second player to control that like computer fighter. So basically it turns the game into a multiplayer game, one-on-one match.
This feels like playground nonsense. Is this real?
This is real. On your if you have a SNES Classic Edition, you can do this now. So at the title screen, press Y and R on controller 2, then start or the A button on controller 1, and this takes you to a screen where you can see like you versus a grid of every fighter that is available in the game, and you are able to choose from that. And then once you select a fighter at that fighter info screen, if you press Y and B on controller 2, and then again start or A on controller 1, that means that engages like the second player being able to play as that fighter. It's so crazy that this has been in here all this time. I guess somebody like a follower of this Twitter account had asked them to go looking for like a code or something specific in the game, and in doing that they came across this just like other maybe like at one time intended mode that got cut, or who knows, or maybe it was a debug thing.
Well, but like it's so easy to access it. Like it's unlikely that you would hold R and B or Y and R on the second player controller and then press A on the first player controller. But like it's not a complicated series of inputs.
No. And it works. Like it's not like it like is buggy or at least that people have seen so far. So yeah, it's awesome that it exists. It's awesome that it's been found after all this time.
And I think the most awesome is that it is something that anyone can access now if you have a Switch and Nintendo Switch Online, because Super Punch-Out is included in that.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I haven't tried it yet. I haven't tried it on the Switch.
You know, I said that, and then I had to like stop and think like, is Super Punch-Out part of the Super? Because it is part of the Super NES Classic Edition. I'm gonna look it up. Mark, you read the next story.
Okay. a live action Pac-Man movie is in the works. Sorry, I had to really gather myself to say these words. A live action Pac-Man movie is in the works from Bandai Namco and Wayfarer Studios.
Who do you think's gonna play Pac-Man?
Here's the thing. Oh, so it's from an idea by Chuck Williams, who is a producer on the Sonic the Hedgehog films, which of course have been enormously successful.
Yes.
They call this a live action Pac-Man movie, which I hope that means that Pac-Man is played by a real person in like a
I
Jabba the
hope
Hutt
so.
type.
I hope they reanimate James Gandolfini so he can play the role of Pac-Man.
Because I think it would be very funny if Pac-Man is human.
Yeah.
In this movie.
Do you remember on 30 Rock? There's a joke about the guy who played Pac-Man died.
Yes.
So what if it's Tracy Jordan? Wait, Tracy, what's his real name? Morgan.
Yeah. I just think it'd just be really funny if Pac-Man, like, the story is, he's like a Ghostbuster. He's picking up.
Wait,
like,
are you saying it's like a crossover with the new Ghostbusters movies?
Do you know what? Yes, that is what I'm saying.
Okay, good.
But no, he has to like go into some like house that's like a maze, and it's Tracy Morgan. I mean, I would watch that.
It's basically a remake of 13 Ghosts, but it's Tracy Morgan as Pac-Man, and the ghosts, instead of 13 of them, there's only 4.
I can't remember if canonically I have seen in this show, I have seen 13 Ghosts because I think we took a break during one episode for me to go watch it.
That's right, we did. So
yeah,
you
of
have
course,
seen it.
Yes, 13 Ghosts.
Super Punch-Out is on the Super Nintendo Switch Online.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm guessing that this is probably like live action world animated Pac-Man.
Right, James Marsden is there.
He's a cop.
What does this do for you? Is there any, like, we haven't seen the Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
I haven't. Yeah.
We saw Detective Pikachu together.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very similar thing.
A very similar kind of thing, but also feels like different. And maybe that's just my own like.
Maybe because like there in that movie you're in like a world where there's lots of Pokemon.
Right,
and that's just like the state of the world. Because I feel like the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, maybe he like comes from another universe I haven't seen.
He does.
It.
He does come from another universe. Yes. Yeah, and like, but like even that kind of makes sense to me. The trying to square Pac-Man existing in like a normal human reality, it breaks my brain a little bit. Is it like an E.T. like movie where like
that could be fun.
Pac-Man visits, like he
Pac-Man phone home.
Pac-Man phone home. There we go.
It's not a terrible idea. Last week, SNK surprise dropped Mega Man Battle and Fighters on Switch. Originally debuting in 2000 on the Neo Geo Pocket Color, Mega Man Battle and Fighters features portable versions of the arcade fighting games Mega Man The Power Battle and Mega Man 2 The Power Fighters. Patrick, are you familiar with these?
Sort of. I'm familiar with the arcade games. I mentioned them actually a couple weeks ago when Capcom Arcade Stadium 2nd.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
So that's why I was confused that this was like a separate, discrete thing, because it's the portable versions
because it's
of
the
those.
Neo Geo portable version
yeah.
of these. Again, the Neo Geo Pocket is such a weird little machine. It has such a limited color palette, but like a hilariously like I don't know. It's all very like soft colors, and it's very like the aesthetic is something very specific. And every like I love that Pocket Fighters game that was aping that style. I really like the SNK versus Capcom that was available for Neo Geo Pocket. And it all plays in that very limited color palette and is fun and cute and all of that. Which this, when applied to these Mega Man Power Battles games or Power Fighters or whatever, however it's translated for this specific release, it looks too much like the original Mega Man to me. I want it to look like the sort of arcade glow up of those sprites.
Mm-hmm.
So I still think that the better buy here is getting it as part of the Capcom Arcade Stadium 2nd. But this is 2 games in this collection for like $7 or something like that. So this is cool, and I did freak out for a second when I was like, oh my god, these games. But it's just the Neo Geo Pocket versions of them.
So they have never released. Capcom has never re-released the Game Boy versions of like the Mega Man games. Is that right?
I think the Game Boy Mega Man games are available on the 3DS eShop.
Oh,
I think so.
another thing that's like going away.
Yeah.
Soon.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I don't know why they don't collect them in a Mega Man Game Boy Legacy collection. They should.
Yeah, I guess like you had mentioned that the arcade versions were coming out, but I like that even though I don't think I'll ever play them, I like that this like handheld version is out and exists, and I wish Capcom would do the same thing, like make those Game Boy versions easily accessible. Because sure, maybe they're lesser versions of the original Mega Man games, but it's just cool that they exist.
I mean, what I think is that is very cool. I think it's also just impossibly cool that there's someone out there working so hard to port Neo Geo Pocket games to the Switch, where it's like, yes, thank you. We are saving this. What a weird little platform that most people don't have like any experience with. And when one of them comes up that's like noteworthy, you and I have to be like, is this real? What is this? So yeah, it's just beautiful, and I'm so glad that it makes me want to dig deeper into the Neo Geo Pocket library, see what else there is there that I probably would really enjoy playing.
We talked about the new tracks that came to the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass Wave 2. But in that update to the game, there were also some other changes that Nintendo made. So they doubled the number of time trial ghosts you can download from 16 to 32. The Shy Guys in the Wii Coconut Mall level now drive around instead of staying in one place like they did when, which is what they did originally in the Wii. They like drove back and forth to try to like block you. But when the Coconut Mall was first released as part of Booster Course Pass Wave 1, they didn't move at all.
Right.
So they went back and updated that.
And that fix is sort of like the most like obvious of the changes that they made here. And I think is noticeable because the Wii Coconut Mall is part of like the newer tracks. So I think there was a lot of scrutiny on that, people noticing it sort of independently. And I don't know how many people would have noticed or cared about the time trial ghosts. But so it's those two are sort of like the big things, and then there are a bunch of little tweaks, right? They adjusted how far vehicles fly when they're hit, depending on their weight. They had shortened the time for an item box to respawn after a driver collects it. They shortened the time between when you lose a coin and another player is able to collect that coin from you. They fixed a quirk of the smart steering that makes it difficult to point straight forward in the air. Which is like the preferred path, but that's the fastest way to go. But the preferred path, it would be like to start to turn with it. So that's why smart steering does that. And then there are other little bug fixes, all of which is to say they're patching this game.
Yeah, interesting to make these tweaks after all this time.
It's one thing if they're like, oh yeah, we were missing a feature in one of the tracks that we put out in the last pass, and we changed that. That I totally understand. Mm-hmm. You're like, yep, you're just continuing to service the new content. But that's not this at all. They're retweaking, and they're adding features to the game.
Yeah, they're like rebalancing it after almost the game being 10 years old, essentially.
Yeah, yes. Which, of course, then has me asking, Mark, does that mean that our dreams of volume sliders?
Oh, dare we hope?
Dare we imagine other features that could come to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe?
That would be so amazing. If just, I feel like it'd be the reveal of Sora as the final fighter in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
That's like, our Sora.
In the last update at the end of 2023, Booster Pass
6,
Wave 6. If they also just quietly added a volume slider, that would be amazing.
Just turn down those sound effects and those voices, and I can just hear that awesome music.
After weeks of rumors and leaks, Square Enix officially revealed Tactics Ogre Reborn, a remake of 2010's Tactics Ogre Let Us Cling Together, which was released for the PSP, which itself is a remake of the Super Famicom sequel to Ogre Battle from 1995. It's among tactical RPG royalty and had only been localized before as the PSP remake, so maintains a bit of mystery because not a ton of people have played it. But it's been officially revealed, and surprisingly, kind of, because it wasn't part of the original speculation, it's coming to Switch. It releases November 11th, 2022.
Mark, this is now in keeping with my resolution to go back and try all of these Super NES era RPGs that I missed out on because they never came here. This is it. I'm going to play Tactics Ogre Reborn when it comes out.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game I only know by reputation.
Same.
But yeah, after Live Alive, I definitely have a lot more interest in checking out these kind of like new to me RPGs.
And like kind of cool to just see Square Enix like looping back around on to the stuff finally that people have been asking about, right? Like the fact that we got Chrono Cross, the Radical Dreamers edition earlier this year, which I should go back to, by the way. The fact that we got Live Alive. What other like
we're getting that Final Fantasy VII?
Yes, Crisis Core
Reborn.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe it's Reborn. I think that's right. All of that. It's cool that they're getting around to actually like surfacing these games again. When do you think we finally see like Final Fantasy Tactics? When do we finally see Chrono Trigger?
When do we finally see those pixel editions?
Yeah, the pixel remasters.
Reunion.
Yeah, of course.
Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion.
That's right. The Crisis Core comes before the Final Fantasy.
Let us never forget that. Okay, so this is maybe just adjacent to Nintendo news, but it is Star Wars news. So, and video game news.
And I feel like brings us back to a Nintendo point.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so the PlayStation.
It's legit. It counts. Okay.
The PlayStation.
I don't want to hear any guff about this not being.
I'm just about to say some words that make it seem like it's not Nintendo related.
Okay. All right.
But ignore those.
I'll calm down.
The PlayStation exclusive Knights of the Old Republic remake from developer Aspyr Media that was announced earlier this year or last year is reportedly on an indefinite hold following the departure, maybe firing, of two of the game's key directors, Brad Prince and Jason Miner. According to Bloomberg, a vertical slice of the game had reportedly been well received by both Lucasfilm and Sony as recently as June. Aspyr leadership determined that the project was not where it needed to be.
Right. So they had a chunk of the game that looked good as recently as June, by the way, which not that long ago, right? And it showed well to both Sony, who was going to be like the co-publisher of it as an exclusive on the PlayStation 5, and Lucasfilm. And then leadership was like, nope, you guys spent all the money or all the resources on this vertical slice, or the rest of it just it doesn't look anything like this, or the vertical slice was so small and the rest of the game so big. It's unclear exactly what happened here.
Interesting.
But that the leadership, like internally, it wasn't Lucasfilm and it wasn't Sony, and it wasn't like any of those partners being like, hey, this is not looking good. It's going to look bad for us for this to come out. It was Aspyr internally being like, we gotta put this thing on ice.
Interesting. So I only know Aspyr from their publishing of the kind of like remasters of some of these old Lucasfilm games,
and that's primarily what they've been for the last couple of years, right? Like they did the remaster of
Episode 1 Racer
of
Star Wars Commando.
Yup, Force Unleashed, and all of those kind of games. Dark Forces,
or no, the Jedi.
Yeah, the Jedi Academy games. Yeah. So a bunch of games, including the Knights of the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords, that came out on Switch just a little while ago, and they were going to be like a full ground up remake of the original Knights of the Old Republic.
Speaking of which, and here's that Nintendo connection. Knights of the Old Republic 2, when it was released on Switch, had a game-breaking bug in it at launch, but it has since been patched. And then Knights of the Old Republic 2 also has 3 different physical versions coming from limited run games, the standard, premium, and master edition, with a lot of fun extras if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah, and the Knights of the Old Republic was definitely a game that I was because they were announced within like days of each other, right? That the Switch remaster and the PlayStation 5 remake, like I believe it was in the same week. It was so they were right on top of each other, and I remember saying like, "Oh, I've never played this game. I think it would be fun to get into it." Oh, but I'll wait for the PlayStation 5 remake. Mark, I no longer believe that. I think I should play Knights of the Old Republic.
I know it's so hard because I haven't played either of these, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I should I just play the second one?
I
At this
think we
point?
should just play them both.
There's just no way. There's just no way it would take so much time, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It feels like Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas thing for me, where I loved Fallout 3, put so much time into that game, and when Fallout New Vegas came out, I was so excited for it, and I bought it, started up, and it was just like, this is too much like Fallout 3. I cannot
Yes.
like sink as much time into it as this one. So I've never played New Vegas, even though it has such a sterling reputation, also from Obsidian, the developers of Knights of the Old Republic 2. So I am paralyzed. That's why it was kind of nice that it was a PlayStation 5 exclusive, where it's just like, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, they made the choice for us.
Yeah.
Now we have to make the choice for ourselves. Mark.
Paralyzed.
One of the little pieces of information that we skipped over in talking about the Knights of the Old Republic remake is that Bloomberg's reporting suggests that the developers, so the original release date was going to be sometime in 2022, but the developers close to the project think that a more realistic release date would be 2025, which, if you recall, is my prediction for when the next version of the Switch comes out.
No. I refuse.
Look, it's either the Bomberman theory or 2025 arbitrarily.
Finally, snack company Keebler is making Mario Kart Fudge Stripes Rocky Road cookies.
Wow.
It's chocolate and almond flavored shortbread topped with a marshmallow flavored fudge drizzle.
A marshmallow flavored fudge drizzle.
There's a lot going on here.
Okay.
The center of the cookies have a star or lightning bolt design.
Ooh.
Here is another great moment in copywriting. Quote, "For decades, both Keebler and Nintendo have been at the center of countless family memories."
Sure.
This is from Keebler's Alicia Mosley. And through the Mario Kart Fudge Stripes Rocky Road cookies, we're hoping to, quote, power up the elfin magic that happens when families come together, end quote.
I want to just linger on the adjective here, elfin magic. It's not elven magic. They don't use the V like Tolkien would.
No.
Elfin magic.
No, I am sure that there is like a...
Yeah, they're legally distinct. The Tolkien estate is quite litigious, of course.
A strict Keebler elf style guide, I am sure. I mean, we obviously have to taste these.
In the second age of man, where were the Keebler elves?
We obviously have to taste
Oh
these.
yeah, 100%.
So
I'm about to be vulnerable here as I waffle between saying the word aunt and the word aunt, because I don't know which one is real in my mouth and which one I have made myself say to not sound like I'm trying to say the other. My Aunt Barb used to work for Keebler, and she got us Keebler snacks like for free all the time.
Oh my gosh, so you really did experience the elfin magic that happens when families come together.
Yes, we got so many boxes of like discontinued Keebler products because they just like had them. Not that there was anything wrong with them; they were just like done marketing and selling them.
Right.
So like we had those. Do you remember Magic Middles?
I don't.
Okay, Magic Middles was like a regular sized cookie that was just like a shortbread cookie with fudge on the inside of it. So it was like it was almost like a peanut butter cup, except instead of chocolate, it was cookie. Instead of peanut butter, it was chocolate.
Yes.
did I complicate it?
No, I'm there.
Okay. But so they were called Magic Middles, and then they made mini Magic Middles, which were bite-sized versions of those that you would just go in and take a handful of, like they were Ritz Bit sandwiches, you know? And then they made those, which also had chocolate chips on top.
Wow.
So we ate those things, these mini Magic Middles with chocolate chips.
Man, all this, I was kind of making fun of the copy, the quote from Keebler, but
Keebler cookies played a large part in my childhood, and can only assume that I ate a lot of these products while playing Nintendo games in my parents' basement.
Man, this is too much for me.
Do we need to stop? Have we gone too far, too fast? All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Thank you so much for joining us. If you please remember to rate, review, and follow us on Apple Podcasts. If you like the episode, you should share it on Facebook or Twitter or any old place where you share stuff. We appreciate it when you do that. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at Nin Cart Society. We also have a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Anthony DeLuca made our logo, and our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying, have an elfin good week, and thank you for listening.